All right, so hi, thank you everyone for joining us. You already knew who I am, but for those of you who are new to the group or to the community here, my name is Alicia and I offer business, marketing, and mindset coaching to virtual assistants to help them get out of overwhelm and create a business that they love. And today we're going to be talking all about how to go from being a solo VA to someone running a multi-VA company. So if this is ever something you've considered, if you've ever thought about expanding or growing or putting yourself more in a management role where there are other people working under you, I think this is the session to watch. So today we are joined by the wonderful Tammy Durden. Hi, Tammy. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to the session with you, Alicia.
Absolutely. So let me tell you a little bit about Tammy first, and then I want to ask her some questions because I think that is the best way to really see what she really has done to get to this point in her career, and I think you're going to be pretty excited to hear what she has to say. So Tammy runs a multi-VA company that specializes in all-inclusive services in their packages, including things like bookkeeping, digital marketing, virtual assistant services, writing services, and more. Tammy began in 2008 when she needed to add to the family income. Due to MS, she was unable to work outside of the home, so she created her business. Tammy has a passion to not only help her clients, but to also empower disabled professionals to work. Most of her team is made up of disabled individuals or mothers of disabled children. So I have been following Tammy for, I don't know, probably almost since I started online, I think. And I've just always been impressed with the way that you network and your willingness to help other people. And this niche that you've carved out for yourself is pretty amazing. So I appreciate you joining us today.
Oh, thank you. Gosh, you're going to embarrass me. It's really a heart mission for me, and it comes from personal experience, with having disabilities and knowing how difficult it is to work outside the home. And the unemployment rate for disabled is ridiculously high. For the blind and visually impaired, it's over 90%. And I just said that's not right. And so we need to change that. And so part of my passion is to help others work who are disabled. Of course, I don't discriminate from non-disabled. So we have a little bit of everything on our team, but I do try to bring on disabled professionals as much as possible. You'd be surprised how many have degrees and master's degrees, but aren't working. It's just crazy. So I love helping my clients, but I love the joy that to see disabled professionals begin working.
I love it. I really do. And I think that you bring such value to the virtual assistant community by talking about this particular thing. So I think it's just an added bonus for people to learn from you today.
Oh, thank you.
I also wanted to mention, if anyone has questions as we're going about any of this information, please post them in the Facebook group, under this live video, and I will try to keep track of the questions, and then we will take those at the end today after we get through with Tammy's presentation. So first of all, Tammy, in your bio, we talked a little bit about how you got started online and why, but tell us a little more about your story. What was your journey, this whole process of going from a solo VA to multi-VA company?
Sure. It's very interesting because I'm involved in a lot of communities online, and I see a lot of new VAs starting, and it just brings you back to where you began. And I think it's interesting you say I have a lot to offer, but I'm also still learning from everybody too, and we all are learning. So I think communities like yours are wonderful, where people can just be real and genuine and ask questions, because it's so important. And I know I had that also in the beginning, and so it was wonderful, and you didn't feel foolish. You felt safe to be able to ask in the VA community, so that was wonderful. But when I first began, I actually, well, as I said, we needed to have an additional income. And when I started looking back, even in 2008, there was still a lot of scammy type things out there. And I even fell for one. And then I got frustrated and said, I'm going to look in my local paper And I found an insurance guy who needed help making appointments. And so I actually began in lead generation and apparently was fairly good at it because his colleagues started asking where he was getting the appointments. And before I knew it, he was handing out my name and telling me I had a business. And I said, no, I don't. And he said, yes, you do. So after, several times of that back and forth, I said, oh, I guess I do. And so we began with appointment setting and virtual assistant because I also did some admin for him. And I knew starting out that if this was a business, then if I got enough clients, my goal was then to bring on, a team who I could empower, who were disabled. So that's kind of where I started. And then back in 2000, I think it was 12, we actually reorganized because what I found when I did get big enough to bring on clients, on additional help and actually build a team, what I found out was it was, doing lead generation takes a lot of confidence and to try and call people and cold call and things like that. And that wasn't a really good fit. And so what I did was just completely redo my business model. And so I embraced the virtual assistant side more. I began to get certified, and they did too, and other things. So like social media marketing and all of these other things. And so we could offer more services for our clients. And then it really started to take off.
So I love that you mentioned how you you changed course, right? You rebranded, you kind of went a slightly different direction. And I think that's just important to note in general, because a lot of times people feel that whatever you jump into this industry with, that's it, and you're stuck with this. And I always say, it's your business. It's totally up to you. If you want to change something and do something different, if you become more passionate about something else, if you gain another skill, if you work with a certain market that you like better than some other client that you have, it is totally okay to switch and go with that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think we're always reinventing ourselves in some ways. And also, Alicia, there's so many new softwares coming out and skills that we have to constantly learn. And one of the things that surprised me when I began to really begin to take on some additional skills was that I enjoyed the design aspect, that I really was much more creative than I gave myself credit for. And I would have, we all get the clients that are startups, can't afford a logo, can't afford, all of the other things. And I really enjoyed putting together logos, designs, presentations, website, all of that. And I never thought that would be something I would be doing. And so, yes, absolutely. As you get into this, just because you carve out one niche in the beginning doesn't mean that's where you have to stay.
Absolutely true. So I'm glad that you shared that with us. So another thing I think that is really good that I'd like you to help us with a distinction between is the difference in subcontracting to other VAs versus truly having a team and building your own multi-VA business. So can you explain the difference to us with those two things?
Yes, no, it really is. I mean, I think there's a definite difference in that because I think there are times as a solo VA that we do get pretty busy and we need help, and so we'll reach out to another VA and subcontract them, and that just simply means that they're doing the work for the client through you and that you're just hiring them as a subcontractor at that point. That doesn't mean you have a team or anything at that point, and you may not even want a team. A lot of solo VAs don't want to. It's a lot of work, let me tell you. So they don't want to go into that part of it. But when they do get busier, they want to subcontract out. There are some VAs who only are subcontractors. That's their niche. They subcontract to other VAs. And so that's important to note as well, because some VAs, start there and like it and don't want to do the marketing and all the other stuff. So they enjoy that. But then when you build a team is actually more long-term. It's going to be people that you have really vetted, that you've gone through a process with, interviewed and references and all of those things, almost like hiring, but they're still contracted through you. And they can either work directly with your client or they can work for, with you, and then you work with the client. Everybody's different in how they run their teams. So those are some of the big differences anyway in subcontracting and having a team.
Yeah, and I tell people it's different things work better for different people. It really depends
Mhm.
on your services, the clients that you serve, and then your ultimate long-term goals for your business, right? I mean, some
Absolutely.
people may just subcontract out something here and there.
Mhm.
The other thing I suggest to people is you also might be in a position where you might want to consider just completely referring something to someone else. I
True.
usually tell people to know the difference. This would be something that you know is completely out of your wheelhouse. You're not looking to build a team
Mhm.
of people to do that, and it's really not something you're comfortable handling, being the go-between between a client and someone else, because it's just not something you're comfortable with. In that case,
Mhm.
it might be better for everyone involved to just pass on a referral to someone else altogether.
Very true. And some VAs actually charge a referral fee, so they still get a little bit of that portion that they would have gotten had they actually done the work. And others just like the referral, just go ahead and then they just expect a payback sometimes, if you have somebody that you can refer back to them as well. So, I mean, it just depends on the person if it's something that they do on a regular basis or if they're just a one-time thing and saying I can't handle this. The other thing that's interesting about what you said too is that a lot of teams and mine kind of varies, but some teams owners actually do what you said. They have team members who specialize in those things that they don't, and so they will have the team member work directly with the client and all of that. So they're still having a portion, but it's their team who is working with the client. I kind of do a mix of both because I tend to, the clients tend to want to work directly with me. And so I usually will have the team doing the work, but then also working with the client myself and communicating anyway. Now, I do have one client where I do let her directly work with my team member, but that's a very rare case. Most of the time, they go through me and then the team. So everybody runs their team differently, though, And when I first began, I didn't let my team have any contact with the client. But as you grow and learn, and as you get to know your team members better too, sometimes it's better to just let them have that communication directly.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a great example of how different people are going to run their business different ways,
Mhm.
and the way you do it might evolve as you go.
Absolutely, yeah. We're all growing still and learning, and definitely when you do a multi VA company, you certainly learn so much along the way. And when I think back at how I started, I just shake my head sometimes. But probably 10 years from now, I'll do that with what I'm doing now.
Exactly, exactly. So for somebody listening, we're talking about the distinction between, just outright referring people or subcontracting things here and there versus building a multi-VA team. For somebody who's actually considering the whole idea of truly building a team, how do they know when they're ready, or how do they start that process?
That's a great question because yeah, a lot of people want to know that, and when do they actually jump into that piece? And I will say that most of the time, most people start very slowly in that. They may first subcontract, see how that goes, how they manage it. Maybe subcontract just a couple people and see how that works. And if it's something they enjoy, some people don't enjoy that at all because and I will say in the beginning, you definitely lose money because you are sharing that with them. So whereas you were working on it directly before, now you got to share that. So you have to get to a certain point where you start seeing that income again. But I think when you get to the point of where you're turning clients away almost, and to the point of that you have the income that you like with a little cushion, maybe. That's a good way to do it. I didn't do it that way, but I would suggest that most people do it that way. And I suggest that they do it slow. As I said, just take one subcontractor at a time. And then if you like them, then you start to build the team and go from there. I just kind of, when I started getting a lot of clients, just jumped right in and made a lot of mistakes along the way. So, yeah, and I think that you also have to remember, do you have the ability to give up control? You have to know yourself. You have to really have the right mindset for it. You have to, like I said before, trust your team. You have to want to be able to train, because there's going to be things they should know, softwares and things, but there's going to be a certain process and system that you have and the way that you do it, or the client may have. So you need to be able to train your team, and you have to be able to manage it all on a constant. I mean, there are days I feel so unproductive, because now mostly what I do is my marketing and the management of the team, so project management all day long, but don't necessarily feel like I did, any client work, because I rarely do that now. So, and then the other thing I would suggest too is that, and like everybody in your community knows, upgrading skills always. That's something as VAs, I think even solo VAs have to do on a consistent basis, because there's always new things out there. So we really do have to always be doing that. So if you can answer, yes, I can do those things, and yes, I have enough client work, then sure, start looking at it and start thinking about that.
I think it's great when what you just went over, this is what I'm hearing then. Basically, if you're looking to create this team, your role in that whole thing is going to change. So your role is going to be more that of project management, people management, right, with the team members.
Oh, yes.
Marketing,
Mm-hmm.
and teaching and training. Is that correct?
Absolutely. That's exactly right. Yes,
So,
because you have to do those things, and you have to like them. You have to, you have to like that. Otherwise, what's the point? If you don't enjoy those things, why are we doing it? And I truly enjoy my business. I do. My husband will say sometimes, well, don't you want to retire from this and that eventually? And I'm like, I don't know. I really like what I do. So, when we talk about things, I said, look, I can do it on the cruise. So anyway,
I'm sure he was thrilled to hear that you.
Oh, yes. Our last one, our last one, I actually did get the internet package. I think he was sorry. He's the one that encouraged it. You have to know when to turn it off too, right?
That's right.
We were just at a critical time at that moment, and we just had already booked that vacation. So, but most of the time I do unplug, and I suggest that. But again,
it's important to note that, because like we were talking about, your role is going to change. So you need to be prepared to handle certain things that, weren't in play before, when there weren't all those other people involved, right?
Absolutely. And it's not like you can tell your clients at that point, when you have that many, I'm going on vacation, so you won't hear from me for a week. They have to have somebody in place. You do. You have to have, and you have to trust those people to take care of that while you're gone. Otherwise, it will be a horrible vacation, and you will be plugged in all the time. Fortunately, the internet was down quite a bit, so I didn't have to worry. And I had great people in place, I should say, so too, that helped.
So that's another big important thing to talk about. You need to make sure that you have a lot of trust there with these team members, and that you have a plan in place so that things can run without you constantly being involved in each piece of it 24/7.
Absolutely. Yeah. You have to, you really, even as solo VAs, we should have processes and manuals of things that we do. And I know that's hard when we're busy working on the clients and everything else, but we really should have in place some kind of system. And I'll raise my hand. I can be the worst at that. I have a great one, but I have to update it. You just constantly have to update it. Otherwise, you can hand it to them, but it doesn't make sense anymore. Right. So, it's something in the business. We're always in that journey, and we're always transforming, not only in ourselves, but our businesses. And so we constantly have to keep those things updated, so that, and I have to also consider, and I know you may have some in your audience that are disabled. So there's a lot of things I have to consider as well. I have days that I work from bed. Truly, I just came off of a couple of weeks of being really down after my daughter's wedding and the daughter-in-law surgery and a lot of other things. And I truly work from bed, but that's okay, because I can do that, and I'm grateful for that. But there are days that I might not be able to even get on, and I have to know my team has it, and I don't have to worry about it. So for those, who may be disabled and just starting, you can get to a place, because I was concerned about it in the beginning. Would I be able to maintain this or continue the business and things like that? But I think if you get a good system in place and good processes and good people, and that's something I learned too. The people that you get, you want to make sure they're actually looking at the long-term goal for you and your company, that they want to want to subcontract with you as a team member, that they're not looking to build their own business. Because I've had a lot of that, and I don't mind mentoring. I love it, and I love helping VAs, but then I lose them within a few months or 6 months because they've learned and they moving on because now they have clients. And so you have to consider all of those things, when you're hiring the team, somebody on your team.
Right. Absolutely. Those are really good tips. So what else would you say? We talked about how to start it and somewhat about the team members, the kind of people you'd be looking for. What are your tips for continued success? So now you have this going on, the wheels are in motion, you have plates spinning. What is your advice for keeping it successful, keeping clients coming in, clients happy, team members who are doing their work well and happy, and then organizing it all so that you know what's going on at any given moment?
Absolutely. I would say the number one piece of software you must have in place is a project management system, so that you can communicate within that system and even have your clients in there. For certain clients, you may not want all of them in there, but you can set up different folders, obviously, that are just team and some that are team and client. That way there's not tons of emails going back and forth and have to look back to the emails and see, wait a minute, what did they say, and things like that. It's all within a system. And there's tons of those systems out there. We'll talk about that too at the conference. But the one that I personally love and use is called Wrike, W-R-I-K-E. And I use the free version, and it has tons of memory. And I like the way the free version works, and we've used it for a number of years now. And I still have memory. I can't believe it on there. So I will say that if you upgrade to the paid version, it's a big jump. I think I want to say it's near $50 a month or something. Whereas Asana and some of the others, Basecamp, Trello, Red Booth, some of those are a little less expensive per month if you upgrade to the paid version. But that is crucial, absolutely crucial. And then the other thing that, it seems obvious to everybody, but is you have to have an ongoing intake of clients, or you just, obviously that's not going to work. So you need to really find, just like with a solo VA, you have to find a niche, you have to find your buyer persona and market to that buyer persona, and just be out there constantly. And, we all know by now, usually, unless you're a new VA, that a key part of that is building relationships, whether online, in person, or anywhere. You have to build those relationships and to build trust, because, they have to, like you, know you, and trust you before they're going to do business. So we have to do those things to be successful.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you brought that up, because that's a big part of what I coach people with, is really having a good relationship marketing strategy. And that's really what it comes down to, which is what you said, building relationships, cultivating those relationships. So in this role as someone in charge of a multi-VA team, you have to be comfortable with getting in there and doing that work and being consistent with it. You're again bringing up the point, what we always hear, you should always be marketing, always checking in, seeing if you can do more for the current clients, because we all know it's easier to gain more work from a current client than it is to bring on somebody completely new, so I'm sure a lot of those pieces of the puzzle are things that you have to work on as person in charge of the team.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that that is sometimes the hardest thing, because you get so busy with the work. Even for solo VAs, you're so busy with the work of it. And I'm so busy working on, not in as much, my business, that because I am interacting with all levels, trying to create new posts, new ads, new content constantly, in order, and being consistent in it so that people will see it consistently, not just every once in a while, is a huge thing for all of us. So, I think we all have to do that.
Yeah. So we have a lot of questions that have come in as we've gone over this information.
Oh, good.
What I think some of it will clarify some things you said if I ask you some of the questions. But before I get to that, is there anything you feel you wanted to add that I didn't ask you about this topic?
I just think that mindset's a big part of it, making sure it's something you really want to do. I think that it's wonderful being a multi-VA. Make sure you have somebody out there that you can connect to who is also, who might be willing to mentor or just be able to ask questions once in a while, because that's a huge help. And we do, of course, the VA to VA group where we answer questions and everything else for those. And I think that if you're at that point where you're just getting so busy, I think it's time to maybe consider it and just think about those things.
Nice. So let me start with, we had a couple questions come in on our event page. Let me cover those people first. Someone wanted to know, so when you're in a team situation like this, do you have a formula that you use to figure out percentage-wise how much you're going to charge versus how much you're paying the other VA and how much you're keeping out of that?
Yeah, that's a great question, and one that a lot of people who are doing the multi-VA want to know. But again, it's very custom and personalized for everybody. It's individual. I will say, I think you need to decide on a percentage. And basically what mine does, I have package rates. And my team, I'm very upfront and transparent, and I tell them the percentage of the package rate that they will receive when they come on my team. So I think it's just a personal thing. And I will say that I used to pay a higher percentage and then realized I had so much cost involved. I had to change that ratio a little bit. They always get more than I get, obviously. But yeah, I think you really have to just decide on what's going to be the best fit for you and what makes the most sense, but yet doesn't cost the client too much. Otherwise, you won't attract clients either. It's a fine line. And I know that right now with the VAs, where that price point is, it's going to be different for somebody who subcontracts with you or comes on your team, because it is going to be lower to work on a team than it is doing it yourself. So I just think, I don't want to say, oh, this is exactly what you charge, because I think it is very different for everybody, and, a lot of people can go anywhere from 40, 60, 50, 50. I've even seen 70, 30 and 80, 20. So, for me to say, oh, this is what you absolutely should charge wouldn't be right. I think it's, it has to make sense for your bottom line too.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice, because none of this business is a one-size-fits-all thing. So I don't think you can give a definitive answer as to this is exactly how much for this. But the way that you worded it is great. You need to take factors into consideration, and between what the VA is charging, what your overhead and costs are, and what you want to make in your business, and what kind of work they're doing for the client, come up with a percentage that both of you agree to.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, I think being transparent is huge. You can't just say, oh, I'm going to give you this and, whatever. And then they find out the package is much larger. That's not fair. They're not going to want to work with you. And so I think you just have to be real and transparent with them. Some will tell you that, well, this is my minimum that I'll work with. But most of them, when I say this is what we charge for the package, and I usually give this percentage, are you okay? Most of them, obviously, if they're on my team, they say it's okay.
Right. So someone asked, when thinking about having a multi-VA company like this, as far as the clients that you serve, do you then just focus on one particular industry, or is it not like that? You can still expand out. I think they're asking, do you focus on a certain kind of clientele only for this kind of business?
It's kind of funny. I think there again, it's personal to your business and what you want to do. But for me, I'm a little bit different. Everybody says, oh, find the niche, find your target market and all of those things. Yes, I have a target market, my small to mid-size business. But, there's certain areas I like to focus in certain industries. But I will tell you, it's the gamut of industries that I work with. So because we offer so many different, personally, we offer a lot of different services. So it's not, we're not just offering social media. We're not just offering bookkeeping, whatever it is, or just admin. We're offering a lot of services. So we do get a lot of different industries interested in our services. I think that if you wanted to, and I've seen it, like some multi-VAs focus on real estate. Some multi-VAs will focus on legal, lawyers, and that's all they do is the paralegal work. You can certainly do those things and be a great success. So I think it just depends, what do you enjoy working with? And do you enjoy a certain market more than another? And if you do, stick with that, because you're going to resonate with them more and you're going to build that relationship better.
Good advice. And there was another question along the same lines, as far as price point for these clients. Do you feel that means the clients are usually more higher end when working with a team like this, or does it also run the gamut of price ranges and packages that they have for your business?
That's another great question. I think that in general, you do run the mid to higher level clients. And I will just say, to that point, even to solo VAs, what I found to be true, I started out very low. I really did, much lower than I should have in my price points. And what I found out was, working with clients on that level were clients who were either just starting out, couldn't afford it, or always looked for low price, and then also tried to cut hours, tried to get more work out of us. And so what I found was, when I bumped my price up, and it was significant in the beginning, it seemed like, oh gosh, I'm not going to get anybody at this rate. And I started attracting a whole different clientele, people who were serious about it, people who either worked with VAs before or wanted to start working with VAs, and willing to pay the price for a good VA, who would do whatever, they needed done, social media, email marketing, whatever it was. And they're willing to do that. So I will say that my price is probably right on target with most VAs right now, which means my my team gets a little less than that, obviously, but they also don't have to spend the time marketing and doing the other things. So they, seem to enjoy that, that part of it. So I don't know if that answered everything, but
I feel it was pretty good. And if somebody wants more clarification, if they post, I'll bring that up. But
okay, great.
Yeah. So another thing people are wondering is, how do you find good quality team members? How do you source them?
Yeah, that's another great question. Part of that is also building relationships online in VA communities and things like that. For me, it's a little different because I do source, a lot of disabled professionals. So I work with DARS, the Department of Rehab, here in my state, as well as Division of Blind and Visually Impaired. But I also found that within VA communities, I found great people who want to be on a team because they don't want to do the other. I also am a mentor in the VA Classroom University, so there's a lot of wonderful people in there as well. And there's a directory online for that. So if you're looking for somebody, you could always look there. As well as I just simply found, once you start a team and people know it, they will usually contact you if they want to work on a team. So I get tons of inquiries about working with me. And so, I don't usually have to look too far. And then I keep them in a file. And then when we have a need, of course, I will begin the interviewing process. But so that's what I've found anyway, in general. In the beginning, yes, I think you can look at directories and VA communities online to really find what you're looking for.
Good advice. Good advice. So along the same lines, someone is asking, you touched on this a little bit earlier, but when you're looking, are you looking for experienced people, or do you take on any internship or mentorship type of positions and then train them how you want it? Or are you looking for people who have done the work before?
Mm-hmm. Boy, you have some good people in your community. Great questions today. Yeah, again, it depends on what it is I need. I have definitely taken on new VAs and helped train them and get them up and running and things like that. What I'm finding, I guess I should say, even after all these years, is a lot of times if they had their heart set on becoming a VA themselves, then I lose them. But I do love to work with new VAs because, they're so excited and fresh and ready and all of those things. But I also have opportunities at times where I need experienced ones. Like I might, have a client that does Infusionsoft. So that's not an easy program to learn and to train people on. So that's, an area where I would already need somebody that knows that.
Yeah, definitely makes sense. So you mentioned during your talk that you felt that there were definitely some mistakes you made along the way, especially in the beginning of your process of building a team. So someone was asking, could you name any of that specifically, or is there something very specific you think of that, well, if I had known, I would have done this part this way?
Gosh, how many? No. How much time do we have? No, teasing. No, I think for me, the biggest thing I learned was in the beginning, I was like, yeah, just everybody join, come on, we'll bring everybody on and help everybody. And, and what I've found over the years is I need to be more selective in my process, of interviewing and checking references and all of those things. Whereas in the beginning, I would just say, sure, yeah, this is good. I know you from whatever. And yeah, just because I knew them in a community doesn't mean I know how they work. And so it's still important to vet them and get those references, and even do background check maybe, because I know Lisa in our group, she does background checks on everybody. So, it just depends. I know also I usually get them to fill out the form for the taxes and everything else. And I had one person who didn't want to fill it out because they didn't want their social security number on it. But the problem is that you have to remember, if you're paying that person over $400 a year, you have to give them a 1099 at the end of the year. And so that makes it a little difficult to do in that case, So just, yeah, that. And then also, I just want to mention this real quick. It doesn't necessarily go to mistakes, but keep in mind, too, that they are contracted and not hired. And there are some, I just want to mention this for people to maybe look at the IRS code, because you need to be very clear on what they do and don't do and how you direct them so that they are considered a contractor and not an employee. So I just want to give that word of warning, I don't want to leave it out there that not saying that anyway.
Yes, and I'm glad you did. There was a question someone was asking, are these people contractors? So yes, you're working with other freelancers. These are not employees. The model that we are talking about today anyway is not business with employees. These are other contractors, and so you need to know the laws around that and how to handle paying and documenting income and expenses for that kind of thing.
Absolutely. And you can still say, well, this has to be done at this point or whatever, but you just have to be very careful about your directing of them to make sure that, it is still a freelancer and, you're just, they are contracted with you. They are not an employee.
Yes. So we just had a question about insurance and how you might handle it having this multi-VA business. Is there some coverage you have? Do you ask your contractors to carry any of their own, like E&O or liability insurance?
Yes, they as a separate freelancer, they should carry their own. And I have my own. So yeah, because otherwise my insurance wouldn't really cover them because they're not an employee. So yeah, they have to really have their own insurance and be covered under that. And they sign something that says that as well.
Okay, good. So tell us a little more about where we can go to find more information about you, about what you do, whether it's a website or Facebook. Where do you want people to check you out?
Oh, great. Yeah. And I actually have a free branding book if anybody would like to download it. It's on my site at www.Tammy's Offices, that's TAMMYS, Offices, OFFICES.com. And then our group for the multi-VAs is www.va2va.com. And that's VATOVA.com. So I just want to clarify. And we have a Facebook group for that as well.
Good, and I will share all of those links too. So for those of you who are
Excellent.
watching and you're wanting that information, I will share links to all of that, especially with the replay. I do suggest, if you have other questions like this, to check out Tammy's site and resources and see what she has there to offer, because there may be things that answer some of your questions along the way. And like I said, it's also just having a really great resource out there for someone who's doing this, if this is something that you aspire to do. So the other thing I want to bring up is, if you found this helpful, interesting, something that intrigued you and you want to know more about it, Tammy and her other team members, her co-founders, Nana and Lisa, are going to be presenting at VA Virtuosos this year. We call it VAVS for short. And their session is Friday the 20th, October 20th. So VAVS runs this year from October 16th to the 20th. And they will be hosting a presentation that's going to go a lot more in depth than what we talked about today, getting into a lot more pieces of it. And I really invite you to join it. I just think VAVS is such a great resource, because for the price point and the learning that you're getting, the fact that we're all in there learning from each other, that's really one of their overarching themes. You know, it's VAs helping other VAs. So you're really getting a sense of what it's like for someone who is currently involved in doing this, and they're sharing with you that knowledge. To me, that's just incredible that, you know, that a resource like that is put together for us.
So true. And like you said, that price is incredible for all they get and for the number of days and how many speakers there are. I mean, it's just unbelievable. I've never seen anything like it, you know, anywhere through the years. So that's wonderful she does that.
Yes. So people are asking more about that. I will add links. This is run through VA Networking. Tanya Sutherland is the founder of that. And this is a completely virtual conference. So you don't have to go anywhere except for whatever room in your house or outside you want to be with that has internet, so you can be on your computer. It's October 16th to 20th. Each day there are so many speakers that come in and talk about different topics. So it's this one fee. You get in there and you jump in live and you attend as many as you want, or you can buy the package that has all of the recordings so that you don't miss anything. So I will be speaking this year, and like I said, Tammy will be there with her co-founders. There are a number of other topics. For example, we had Yolanda Crowley on yesterday talking about mindset and how it's a shift that you need to make from employee to business owner. So she's going to be going in a lot more detail of that. There are topics on, I wrote some down. If you're in the process of, if you have a full-time job and you want to know how to make that transition to eventually leave that job and work as a VA full-time, there's one about using LinkedIn to get leads. So there are a lot of different options out there. There's one on just working with high-end clients and how to do that. It's definitely worth it. The nice thing is that you can pick and choose. If you say, okay, I don't need to watch every single one of them, well, note the days and times of the ones you want to tune in for, and all you have to do is hop on your computer during that time and get some really great resources. Speakers usually give you a little something else to follow up with, whether it's a link to find out more or a worksheet or you know, a free PDF or book to give you more information. So it's definitely worth joining. You can find out more about that by going to newvaadvice.com/VAVS. That's VAVS. And I will include that link in the comment section here and in all the replay information so that you have that.
Another good point is, you know, with the freebie, the VA to VA group will be giving away a free checklist if you want to start a multi-VA company. So we'll be giving that away at the conference. And what are you speaking on, Alicia? Tell us.
I'm speaking on how to create a business that you love, which is kind of my motto for my coaching, is really thinking about what you want out of your life and business and what your goals are, and making sure that what you're doing in the day-to-day is getting you to reach those goals.
Wonderful. I'll be excited to hear it.
Yeah, I'm just going to throw in some, I made it a fun one, and I really, really enjoy speaking at VAVS, and every year I think it also helps with your confidence, right? I mean, they have a lot of VAs. It was one of the first places I spoke live like that, and I remember being so nervous and scared. I don't know how many years ago now. I think it helps you do things you didn't think you could do and get out there. And once you realize the impact you're having that you're sharing with other people, I think it makes it all worth it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think you're right. It's so true. Yeah, and I know I've had a lot more chances to speak. It was something I never expected to do, and I get very nervous too. And so, yes, I know I'm doing another one, SCORE event in October too. So I had two kind of back to back, but I'm doing a SCORE event that's free, and that talks about, the shift in VA work now and how it's so different, not just admins anymore. So yeah, it's a great place to get your feet grounded.
Yeah. So, I mean, even thinking about from that side, if there's anybody watching this who has never spoken on something, if you have knowledge of a topic that you can share with another VA, you are welcome to apply to be a speaker at another VABS. They are run twice a year. And I know they're always looking for new and interesting topics. And remember, just because something comes easily to you and you are really good at it doesn't necessarily mean that it comes easily to someone else. So you probably have something you could share.
So true, so true. And I learned so much from other VAs.
Yeah, it's a process. I mean, I think if you're going to be a business owner like this, you have to continue learning. I'm learning every day myself, and you take action, and sometimes you make mistakes and you learn from that. And then you also continue your education and learning in different forms so that you can advance yourself and your business.
Absolutely.
Well,
I love
Tammy,
the new
thank you
community
so
you have
much.
online. I love your community online too. You have a wonderful community.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's really the people who make it what it is. And I'm
Absolutely.
really lucky that they come in and they rally around each other. They help each other, very supportive. And that's really what I wanted the environment to be.
Yes. Well, it's working.
Well, thank you. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to come with us and talk about this whole concept of creating a multi-VA company. I'm sure I'm not putting you out by saying if there are additional questions, Tammy is a member in the Virtual Assistant Empowerment Facebook group. I'm sure if you had something specific you wanted to ask based on this session today, you can ask that. And when Tammy has some time here and there, she'll pop in and check those out. Is that okay with you?
Absolutely. Yeah. Just tag me so I don't miss it. And yeah, no problem. I'd love to do it.
Wonderful. All right. Well, like I said, I'm going to share all of those links so that you can check out Tammy and what she has going on, where else you can follow her and get some great resources from her, as well as how to join her at VABS to learn more about this topic. And I hope everyone has a great day. Thank you all for joining us.
Bye. Thank you.